Hi, my name is Bridget and I am one of your CSA execs this year. I do a pretty special degree combination. In fact, not many people at the con have done this combination in all of the years of the institution. I do music education with a principal study in historical performance. Historical performance is a very small department at the con. You might have not heard of us at all or have very wild guesses of what we actually do. We only have about a dozen students across undergraduate and postgraduate enrolments. What makes us special, however, are the types of music we play and the instruments we use to do it. Historical performance is defined as practices and attitudes that directly or indirectly rely on documentary sources from the time of the work to inform interpretive decisions about the acoustic, conceptual, and in the case of opera, visual environment in which a work was originally created. Typically, we perform music before the 19th century, but in more recent times, historical performance musicians have applied the practice onto more recent repertoire. In the HP department, we do a lot of music from composers like Bach and Mozart, but we don't do it in the way that all you modern people do. We read lots of primary sources, such as the treatises by Leopold Mozart or Quantz, that help us choose the most historically accurate methods of phrasing, articulation, and ornamentation. We often like to read from the facsimiles of the works we are playing, which can sometimes be really tricky to read, but other times it can be just as easy as reading a modern print. Once we've done our research, we go to our very special instruments. To assist with our historically accurate performance, we use period instruments, either originals or replicas. We play at a range of pitches from A415 for the typical Baroque piece, to A430 for a classical one, and even A466 for a Renaissance one. For string players, the transition to historical instruments isn't too great of a difference. We use the same shaped instruments, but they have gut strings, no shoulder or chin rest, no spike, and some very different bows. For woodwind players, things become very different. Period flutes, oboes, bassoons, and clarinets have significantly fewer keys and very different fingering patterns to modern instruments. The only historical instrument that hasn't changed much today is the recorder. For brass players, instruments don't have valves. The natural trumpet and horn have different crooks which help change the fundamental pitches. The sackbut, or the trombone's predecessor, is the most similar to the modern brass instruments. Keyboard players have the experience of playing clavichords, harpsichords, and forte pianos. Harpsichords have a very crisp and precise sound. Forte pianos are slightly more muted than regular pianos, but have the same crispness of harpsichords. At the con, we have the opportunity to play in the Early Music Ensemble, or EME as it is more affectionately known. We play a range of chamber, orchestral, and vocal repertoire from the High Baroque era to the music of Australian colonial time. We also occasionally have the opportunity to play new hip compositions. The Historical Performance Department staff are leading Australian and international musicians who play in ensembles like the Australian Brandenburg Orchestra, the Australian Romantic and Classical Orchestra, and the Pinchka Opera. You might be wondering how you can get involved in the HP department at the con. Here are a few courses that you can enroll in to further your historical knowledge. If you're a keyboard player, I would highly recommend taking Early Keyboard 1. You have the opportunity to play historical keyboards under the tutelage of expert staff. You can take these skills back to the piano and have a whole new appreciation of playing the Bach inventions. If you absolutely loved Lewis and harmony and analysis, you should have a look at Continuo 1. Expand your mind and learn the art of accompanying using figured bass, an excellent class that combines theory and practical application. If you're looking for a general practical style class, take Historically Informed Style Workshop. A combination of lectures, demonstrations, and discussion, this class is fantastic to gain a grasp of the various performance styles and techniques that span the historical performance style. If you're sick of the boring Bach and meandering Mendelssohn, try going to the early end of HIP and taking pre-Baroque practice. In no other class will you get to experience deep delves into historical texts, playing weird and wacky instruments like the crumhorn, reading poetry, and learning to dance historically. There is also the opportunity to volunteer to participate in EME or request to be rostered into the ensemble. You will learn so much more in these 2 weeks immersed into the music than you can ever learn from reading all the articles and treatises. If you come in with an open mind and open ears, your whole outlook on your instrument will change. I know all about it. Playing in EME in my first semester is one of the reasons I transferred from Ed Musicology to Ed Hip. I hope you enjoyed that little overview into historical performance and its place at the con. Please feel free to contact me if you would like some more information on how to get involved in the department or if you have any other questions.